baseball, basketball, football, soccer, volleyball. What do all these have in common? Well, they're all sports. But what really is a sport? What can define the meaning of a sport? According to most online dictionaries, a sport involves, like Oxford Dictionaries and Dictionary.com, a sport involves physical exertion and skill. But is that all that can define a sport? Many people don't realize how much more there is to a sport than just those two elements. I admit I was one of them. I even argued over whether or not this was true with a friend of mine. She said that bowling was a sport, but I didn't believe her. Later, I decided to research what a sport actually is, and I found out that there's so much more to a sport than what the dictionary tells us. A sport needs to involve skill, endurance, competition, defense, and mental capacity. This opens up so many more activities that can be potential sports. With dictionaries excluding these elements from the definition, not a lot of people are able to be successful at a sport that they're good at. And it's also starting controversy about what a sport is. People understand that a sport isn't just about sweating. Fans only rave about basketball and soccer or football, but no one really raves about bowling or chess or golf. It's unfair for those players to not be able to be successful when because the dictionaries are telling people that a sport has to have physical exertion. My name is Michaela, and I'm here to talk about what a sport actually is and how we need to change the definitions. The media is to blame for this too, not just the dictionaries. The media tells us, the media advertises commercials with, a lot of famous basketball or football players, but they don't really use chess players or bowling players or even golf players. Everyone should be able to have a shot at being successful, but with the media not advertising it as much, they don't get to be as successful as the professional basketball players. What you may be wondering, how bowling or golf or chess can even be sports. Well, first, bowling is a sport because, first of all, it involves strength because you're holding a 15 or 16 pound ball with just 3 fingers, and you have to roll it down the lane. It also involves mental capacity, skill, and mental capacity and skill and strategy, because you have to be able to find what angle you should roll it at and what you should hit the pins to make them all knock over at once or in the least amount of strokes possible. Golf is a sport because it also involves more energy than most other sports do, and you also burn 721 calories while playing. It also involves strategy, mental capacity, and skill because you have to be able to fight the wind and also try to get the ball into the hole in as least strokes as possible. Finally, chess is a sport because you actually burn as much calories as a football player does during a long match. It involves mental capacity, skill, and strategy like the other ones, because you have to be able to protect your players or pieces, but also try to defeat your opponent. You have to be able to predict your opponent's next move and try to stop them from making that move. The media needs to start advertising more. The media needs to start advertising other sports more often, or not spending too much time with basketball, football, and basketball, football players. Everyone needs a shot to be successful, but the media won't allow them to. Sports are much different than most people think. There's so much more to them than people know, and we need to inform them. It's unfair for people who play a sport that no one knows about, because they don't have an equal opportunity than the players who do play a more popular sport to be successful. It's unfair to define a sport as something it's really not. Why hasn't anyone ever considered changing it? Will sports fans be okay with opening up the sports world to other sports that would never be thought of as a sport? Or would they rally against it? We need to start expanding our views on sports and start realizing how much different the definition of a sport really is from what we know. All players of any sport should be recognized because everyone deserves a shot at being successful. Thank you.